Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew right here on YouTube. If you like the deck techs that we're making and the shows that we're making here on the channel, including Battle of the Brews, do us a favor, hit subscribe below, ring the bell so that you can know exactly when we're coming out with new content, or check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. If you want to get in on the action, help us out, help us brew these decks, you can do so and get access to our Patreon. It's a lot of fun in there, and this very deck was brewed with the help of our generous patrons over in our Discord. So go check that out. But without further ado, let's get into today's big deck tech. Sean, what are we working with here?
Today, so here was the inspiration. The inspiration was I was thinking about recently released commanders, and I was thinking that like Syr Konrad's cool. I think there's a lot of potential there, but I wanted to add another color. And my initial instinct was maybe to add some blue, maybe have Konrad be backup. And I was like, well, blue has a lot of card draw. I could probably get to Syr Konrad. And we had a great chat in our Discord about it. I put that idea forth, and I put forth kind of my initial goals, and people were throwing cards. I was throwing some cards. It was great. I was having a great time. And then at like the last minute, we're like, hey, wait a minute. Does it make more sense to use red instead of blue? And my criteria was I want my commander to be able to get Konrad back out of the graveyard. I want to be able to do some self-mill. And I want to be able to have a lot of little creatures that kind of support maybe looting, maybe drawing, maybe something, sacrificing, stuff like that. And I think we came up with it. So I just want to give a quick shout out to some of the patrons. This was a very much a live kind of, like, normally I'll put some ideas forth, I'll, go about my business, I'll come back and I'll see a lot of discussion has happened. But this time I was like, I stayed up too late. I was supposed to go to bed, but we stayed up chatting. We just kept coming with ideas. So I don't know if I can get in everybody. If I miss you, I'm so sorry. But like DC Stan 72 and Doomfrog were there at the beginning going through this like Demir brew. Jamon comes in, suggests red, black, and then we went on that. Also to Matt Fox, Ilvini, and our friends of the show, Mondo and JP, guests of Battle of the Brews, had some key includes as well. I'm not going to go card by card, but just a general thanks to those of you who helped us brew this deck.
I love it. This is great. Everyone I'm just going to say it again. Everyone needs to go check out the Mondo and JP episodes of Battle of the Brews on our YouTube channel. They are, Mondo runs wild in the one game, and the JP's game was a lot of fun. Like, that one came right down to it. That one was really good. Both awesome games, awesome dudes. Anyways, go check those out because they're really fun.
I realize it's hard to like pitch episodes of Battle of the Brews without any spoilers.
Yeah,
it's kind of like movie trailers. I want to give you the movie trailer version, but I don't want to put all the good parts in the trailer.
Mondo's is the one with Psy, Master Thopterist, and JP's is the one
Lycia.
Right, Lycia. Right. So go look for those commanders in the game title. Anyways.
Back to this one. So our commander is Chainer Nightmare Adept, 2 black, red, human minion, 3/2. You can discard a card, and then that allows you to cast a creature from the graveyard this turn. You only get to do that once every turn. That's a great way to get Syr Konrad back from the graveyard. Yeah. Discard a card, cast Syr Konrad. And then whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste until your next turn.
It's a good commander.
This is a great commander, and I have to point out that you can discard the card you're planning on casting that way.
Exactly.
So if you've got no other business in the graveyard, you might as well just like discard your card, unless there's no onboard ways to eat creatures out of the graveyard. That would be unfortunate.
That would be.
But you might as well just discard the card itself and cast it and give it haste. It gives, and it also, this is very important that it gets haste until your next turn. Because sometimes it gives haste until end of turn, but if you had an activated ability that required a tap, you wouldn't be able to use it on the prior opponent's end step because it's no longer your turn.
Yes.
But it will get haste until haste doesn't matter anymore.
Good point.
So that's very good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You don't see that very often where something will give haste on other people's turns. It kind of doesn't matter for the most part, but yeah.
Yeah, and just rules-wise, it doesn't allow you to break timing restrictions. Like, your creatures must have flash if you're going to cast them from the graveyard, outside of a main step with an empty stack. And And Syr Konrad, because he's sort of the lieutenant of this deck, 3 black black, 5/4 human knight. He's like a super aristocrat. Anytime a creature dies, anytime a creature goes to the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, so that's both now. Those two statements cover anytime a creature goes to the graveyard from anywhere, and you get an additional when a creature leaves your graveyard. So right away, when we're casting someone with Chainer, the card goes to the graveyard from our hand. That's 1 point of Syr Konrad. And then we bring it out of our graveyard to cast it. That's 2 points from Syr Konrad just by doing that. And the thing is 1 damage to each opponent. Yeah. And we can also pay 1 and a black for each player to put the top card of their library in their graveyard. We're a self-mill deck at heart, so that's also very good for us.
I wonder why the templating on this card isn't just whenever another creature enters the graveyard, like is put into a graveyard from anywhere. You know what I mean?
Whenever
why isn't
another
it just that?
Creature. Yeah, that's weird.
It's like if it dies, or if it does this, it's like, well, what? Why doesn't it just say go into the graveyard from anywhere?
Well, you know what? Maybe this is. I know that they've templated some things in ways that make it easier to follow for newer players.
This certainly makes it harder for me. Every time I see Syr Konrad on Arena in real life, we've seen it a few times. I'm always like, wait, what are the things again? Like, it's dies, it leaves graveyard. It's like, well, no, it's just if it goes in the graveyard or if it leaves the graveyard. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Isn't that like, am I wrong about that? Is there a weird case where like
I can't think
somehow
of one.
It gets into the graveyard from somewhere else, but then it says right here anywhere other than the battlefield.
I'm reminded of creatures like lately they've been doing like, this creature has trample, and it gives all other creatures you control trample. And then so it's like, can't you just say gives all creatures trample?
And that one,
they did it.
Yeah, that one I know why they did it.
Why?
Oh, because they just want it to have trample, and they want, again, for newer players to see that, like, if this thing's going to give everything trample, that means that it also has trample. But people forget it unless they see that it just has trample. So, like, trample, other creatures you control get trample. It's like, that's easier for a new player to understand that creature also has trample.
Okay.
That's what Mark Rosewater said in his thing, so, like, I guess. But this one just seems extra complicated. Anyways, whatever. It's the way it is. We're not going to be able to change it, obviously. So, anyways. But it's a great card. I mean, I love this card in Commander. We've seen very recently on a Battle of the Brews episode that is not out yet, Syr Konrad come into play and have a big impact on the game.
Yeah. So before we get into the specific neat moves, let's just go through some of the like creatures that are here to support our decks running well.
Great. So let's talk about the first one here, which is Dusk Legion Zealot. 1 and a black for the Vampire Soldier. It's a 1/1. It enters the battlefield. You draw a card and you lose a life. Just a classic thing. Replaces itself. You're going to want to bring this one back a lot. Obviously, it's going to be very good for you, drawing lots of cards.
Mm-hmm. It's cheap too. You can squeeze it in. You go, I'll cast this 4-drop and I'll redo my vampire as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Gorging Vulture, very cool one. 2 and a black for the 2/2 bird. As flying, and it says when it enters the battlefield, you put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard, and you gain 1 life for each creature card put into your graveyard this way. That's not bad.
Good for that self-mill.
Yeah, a little self-mill, a little bit of incidental life gain. And then Rixmati Reveler, the 1 and a red 2/2 with Spectacle, which you can cast for 2 black red if you dealt some damage this turn. Or actually an opponent lost life, I should say. When it enters the battlefield, discard a card, then draw a card. If the Spectacle cost was paid, instead discard your hand and then draw 3 cards.
So we're a self-mill deck anyway. So if we get this early, we can just rummage, basically, which is similar to loot, which we want to do. We want dorks that loot. On ETB is great. And we're allowed to discard Rixmati Reveler. Syr Konrad will do a point to everybody. And we're allowed to cast Rixmati Reveler with Spectacle from the graveyard, especially if our hand isn't that great, or we're just like, I want these cards in the graveyard also. Like, that's fine. Like Rixmati Reveler does a lot of work in this deck.
I love it when you have a commander or just a deck that extends your hand into the graveyard in this way. So, yeah, discarding my whole hand isn't really a negative thing here. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. And then we can also do creature ways to get cards in the graveyard are preferred, but we also have some excellent spell ways to do that. Cathartic Reunion, 1 and a red. You have to discard 2 cards in addition to cast it, but you get to draw 3. Red has a lot of these cards where I've gained 0 cards in the interaction, Cathartic plus 2 others, and I draw 3 to replace those 3. But putting cards in the graveyard is good for this deck, so that is also great. And then similarly, Thrill of Possibility. They gave us an instant similar version. It's the new one from Eldraine, 1 and a red for an instant. As an additional cost, discard 1 card and you draw 2 cards. Same net result of no extra cards, but we get this and another in the graveyard, and it's instant speed. I can't say how good that is enough. The fact that this is instant is amazing.
Very solid.
So now, this is sort of like the crux of the deck. So shall we get to some neat moves?
Working on a
Neat.
Yes, we shall get to those neat moves. Okay, first neat move. Magus of the Wheel. 2 and a red. A 3/3, a human wizard. Pay 1 and a red and tap it to sacrifice Magus of the Wheel, and each player discards their hand and then draws 7 cards. So it's classic. It's Wheel of Fortune on the creature. Obviously, Magus cycle, very strong. Love it in this type of deck specifically because you get to use this ability over and over again because you're recasting the creature from your graveyard, as well as that haste thing we were talking about. Big time coming into play here because Magus of the Wheel is able to do it the turn you cast them, which is exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, right? And so, like, we're filling up our graveyard. We're drawing a new 7. Other people are dumping cards into the graveyard. If Conrad's out, we're doing some damage. And maybe we get rid of some madness creatures when we do this. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
A bit of madness?
A little bit of madness. You can't avoid it. I mean, they made Chainer for the madness commander deck, so no doubt it works well with madness.
You've gone mad.
Let's talk about some more self-mill we got in the deck. We got Milliken, 2 generic for a 0/1 artifact creature construct, but you get to tap to mill yourself 1 and then add a colorless to your mana pool. That's an amazing mana dork that goes into our game plan.
You know,
the weakest possible creature ever.
Yeah, you know what's funny? My old job I used to work at, the CEO of the company was named David Milliken. Shout out to my boy D Milliken. You're a weird mummy thing, and your arm's coming apart, but you're putting cards in my graveyard, so I'm digging it. I'm in.
Yes.
It's so weird. When I saw this card after, I was like, "Whoa, Milliken! That's a real person's last name."
That's true.
Can you imagine this thing being the CEO of a company? Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but just imagine this thing was the CEO of a company.
Well, I mean, it's easy to focus on that weird like the hand that's being separated, but look at that weird hairdo.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
There's just like a little bit of like a ponytail of ribbons.
The top pony that Milliken's rocking is like interesting choice. Yeah,
man.
Interesting choice. Like you saw Ariana Grande and you were like, yeah, but the mummy version.
Ariana Grande, but the mummy version.
Yeah, like that's what I want my look to be. It's a bold choice, Milliken, and I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too.
Yeah. All right.
You want to talk bold looks?
Yeah.
Sewer Nemesis is up next. This card used
Very
to be
bold.
expensive. I remember, like in the early days of our podcast,
Yeah.
this card used to be expensive, but they've reprinted it thankfully. 3 and a black for a horror that is star. And when it enters the battlefield, we got to choose a player, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in the chosen player's graveyard. We're going to choose ourselves, and our graveyard is going to be pretty big. This thing in the testing is usually like between 10, 20, 30 power toughness. And whenever the chosen player casts a spell, that is us, that player, us, puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. It's more like once this is online, we're doing more self-mill just because.
Yeah. It's a great card.
It's great.
In basically any self-mill deck that includes black. It looks like it doesn't have that much of an impact. It's like kind of one card. But like just cast 2 spells and that's already pretty good. And also this thing gets massive. It gets very big because it's just cards. It's not creature cards, which a lot of these types of things are.
You know, we're cycling lands, we're casting spells that also ask us to discard cards to draw more cards, right? This thing's pretty good.
And the fact that you can recast it from your graveyard, because I know for a fact this creature gets killed a lot on site a lot of times. It's great that you can just recast it.
Well, and we like it's no surprise. The next one we're going to talk about too is a creature-based self-mill. We like there's a lot of cool spells that do it, but we want a dense creature count because of our Commander and Syr Konrad backing us up. It's no good if we have like 15 creatures in this deck.
Right.
We also run Undercity Informer, tuna black for a 2/3 rogue. 1, sacrifice a creature. Target player, probably us, reveals cards from the top of the library till we hit a land and put all of those cards in the graveyard. So maybe it's mill 1, but it could be like mill 2, mill 3, mill 4 or 5 if we've gotten a lot of lands out of our deck from other means. So, I mean, what a fantastic way. And we love sacrificing creatures. Our creatures are expendable. We don't mind like that little vampire that lets us draw a card and lose a life. I'm happy to keep sacking that to Undercity Informant and casting them again every turn. It's great.
Undercity Informer is a very underrated card. I still personally underrate this card. But just seeing it again here, I'm just like, man, it's only 1 generic mana. Like, I know you want sack outlets that are free and everything, but like, man, if you're looking to fill up your graveyard, this guy does it in a hurry. Even if you
Fill up
got
your graveyard.
Fill up your graveyard. Hello, my name's Philip. Your graveyard. So wait, is your graveyard all one word and it's your last name?
I think so.
That's right.
I think so.
Yeah. YERGRAV. Gravy. Anyways, fill up your graveyard. Gravy yard. My last name's actually Gravy Yard. Okay. This card's great though. Really is good because it's a very small cost for a big effect that you want in your deck. You talked about madness creatures.
Yeah.
You mentioned them briefly. Well, here's a couple that we've got in the deck. Big Game Hunter, 1 black for the 1/1 human rebel assassin. When it enters the battlefield, you destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. It can't be regenerated. The madness cost is 1 black. That's nice. We'll take it.
And something about this. So I told you that Chainer only allows us to cast creatures from the graveyard on their normal timing restrictions.
Right.
You can't cast a creature on someone else's turn. However, madness is different.
Yes.
If you end up so you're allowed to use Chainer's discard ability on every player's turn.
Right.
I'm allowed to discard a card on someone else's turn. I just can't cast a creature from my graveyard unless it has flash. But I can
do
discard
it at instant speed too, right? Like
yes.
discard a card.
Yes.
That ability is able to do it at instant speed.
Yeah, it allows me to cast creature cards from my graveyard. I don't have to. I don't have to have any legal ones I could. So on an opponent's turn, I can discard Big Game Hunter and for a single black, have it enter the battlefield and destroy a creature power 4 or greater.
Not bad. Not bad at all. And it's, specifically like a madness card. Like I remember looking at the madness precon and was like, some of these madness cards are rough. like they're not that good. But it's nice to include a little package of the ones that actually are good, like Big Game Hunter. And also Grave Scrabbler, 3 and a black for the 2/2. It's a zombie with madness for 1 and a black. So again, if you're discarding it, you can pay 1 and a black and actually cast it. And when it enters the battlefield, if its madness cost was paid, you may return target creature card from a graveyard to its owner's hand. So again, this is like a little bit of an engine almost, right? Like, you get this guy in your graveyard and keep recasting them and returning things. Like I can see doing some big things with that. And then we also have Call to the Netherworld, which is a single black for a sorcery that says return target black creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and its madness cost is 0.
Yeah.
So in a similar
0.
way. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to cast Thrill of Possibilities, discard this as my discard card, spend no mana to return a black creature card and draw 2 cards. Thank you, 2 mana instant.
Yeah, so like if you, as part of the cost for something like Thrill of Possibility or Cathartic Reunion, you have to discard them first, right? So as you're discarding Call to the Netherworld, you pay its madness cost, which is 0. Can you get back the other card you discarded? Because it's part of the cost of paying Cathartic Reunion? Like is as part of the cost, it's in the graveyard, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Because you've already paid the cost, so then Call the Netherworld goes on the stack, right? So
yes,
it's allowed to see the ones that you discarded.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah,
I haven't looked up the nuance of it, but that sounds right. I mean, it works with wheels too, right? Like sometimes we'll wheel and have a Call to the Netherworld in the thing that we dump, and it's like, sure.
Yeah.
I'll get something back with that
I'll
wheel.
take it, right? That's great. Yeah, very cool little engine.
Love this card. Love it. Cool. So, and then let's dig for a second. Let's get deep. Let's dig deeper. Put on your shovel and dig.
Put on your mud boots and dig with me. do, let's dig. Okay, we're gonna get sued by David Bowie. Sorry, we're gonna get sued by the ghost of David Bowie if we keep singing.
Ooh, the ghost of David Bowie. I feel like when David Bowie was alive, R.I.P. David Bowie, he was sort of the ghost version anyway, like based on the like he dressed like a ghost.
Yeah. David Bowie is currently in exile. He's not in the graveyard. He was already dead. We had to exile him.
Oh no!
No, poor David Bowie.
One way we're going to do this is with Neheb Dreadhorde Champion, 2 red for the legendary Zombie Minotaur Warrior. Neheb is a 5/4 for 4 with Trample, and he will also have haste if we got him out through using Chainer's ability. And when Neheb Dreadhorde Champion deals combat damage to a player or a planeswalker, I'm allowed to discard as many cards as I want, and if I do, I draw that many cards, and I get a red mana for each card I discarded that way until my end of turn. So I'm probably going to use Neheb as a wheel. I'm probably going to spend 4 to bring him back, attack someone, as long as I can do 1 point of damage with Trample. I don't care if Neheb dies, because I'm going to get him back a bunch of times anyway, right?
You can just recast it.
Right? So I'm going to dump my whole hand, draw a bunch of cards, get a bunch of red mana, probably cast a few more things that I just drew. Great way to dig.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay, so here's a question. Another rules question. Sorry, don't mean to get into the nitty-gritty so much here.
No, man, you got to know how to play the deck.
Got to know how to play the deck. So with Neheb, if I hit and I drop 4 cards, and one of them is a madness card that I have to pay like 2 red for.
Yes.
Am I allowed to use Neheb's mana? So it says you may discard any number of cards. If you do, draw that many cards and add red.
So I believe
I'd probably have to pay the
abilities
costs.
Abilities on cards happen all together.
Right.
So I think everything Neheb does,
right?
Yeah, so everything Neheb does happens at once. I draw the cards, I discard the cards, I draw the cards, and I get the red mana, and then all my madness triggers go on the stack after that. So yes, I should be able to pay.
Looks
for
like
those
we
spells.
should be able to use Neheb's mana to pay for those madness things. Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then just another quick way, like the whole deck's about self-milling yourself, trying to get, like, ideally, all of these are utility things to help us keep going. Our win con is probably going to be Konrad or just relentless creature attacks. So why not Buried Alive? 2 and a black for a sorcery, search your library for up to 3 creature cards and put them in the graveyard. So we'll take Konrad, we'll take Ravenous Chupacabra, and we'll take Big Game Hunter.
Sure. Yeah. This is the genius of using a graveyard deck, right? These tutors like Buried Alive, I mean Entomb if you got the money for it, but like Corpse Connoisseur is a great one. Just stuff that puts things directly from your library into your graveyard, generally speaking, are not like expensive or even really sought after. So you get to use it's like 3 mana to get 3 cards to your hand, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? Because your hand's extended with Chainer. So Buried Alive becomes this amazing tutor, and in this deck, you know, you're right. It's going to get Konrad every time, but it's also going to get 2 other great cards, and then your deck's rolling. And in this case, I don't use a lot of tutors, but in the cases of these types of decks where we have, you know, we really want our Konrad out because it's part of the heart of the deck. It's what we want to do. You got to include some ways to get it. So I'm a fan of using these types of things in decks like this.
Yeah, if you were a strict no tutor person and your personal code was like, nope, not going to run it, we're wheeling enough. We're doing a lot of ways. I do suspect we'll get Konrad in there most of the time without this. This is just a fun extra way to get a couple utility creatures.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about once we have Konrad, because like you said, we're wheeling so much, it's very likely we're just going to get Konrad through like that sort of natural way the deck moves, but also if we get a Buried Alive or something like that, that's going to help us. Some cards that are going to help us once we have our Konrad out, and one of them is Footbottom Feast. 2 and a black for an instant that says put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library, draw a card. So I love this because cards leaving your library, like I thought right away of like exiling them, like
leaving your graveyard.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Leaving your graveyard, because that's what Konrad. That's how he also deals 1 damage. I thought of exiling them with like Delve or something, right? But I love the idea of just putting them back on your library, so then you can even mill them again if you wanted. Like so.
Yeah.
Foot Bottom Feast puts like, put like 10 creature cards on there, and then sacrifice one creature with Undercity Informer, and all those cards are going right back into the graveyards. Right? That's an excellent little combination. I love it.
Yeah. Foot Bottom Feast, Undercity Informer, very good.
Very good with a nice stocked graveyard. We also have Elixir of Immortality, which is the 1-mana artifact that allows you to pay 2 and tap it. You gain 5 life, and you shuffle it and your graveyard into your library. So that's just all your cards. So
yes,
all of the creatures will just do that, and they go back into your library, and all of a sudden you're stacked. Just in case you get even also to the point where you might be milling yourself out, maybe a little too quickly. Maybe there's something that's helping you do that. Maybe there's another player at the table who's trying to run a mill deck, right? That happens.
Sometimes.
You definitely, you're always safe to run a card like this in a deck like this, I think.
I think so too. And like obviously once we do this, our deck gets a lot worse, because now we're like, oh, now I got nothing in the graveyard. But my thinking is, if Conrad's out, then this will do like 10 to 15, maybe 20 to the whole table. And then it's like, at that point, we ought to win or be very close.
It's also just like an escape button. It's like a safety valve almost. Like, again, for the times when maybe someone else is also milling you, trying to like race you to the end of your deck, which is like, it's like, that helps your strategy for a while, but eventually it starts to hurt you. This is a nice escape hatch. Also, if you're doing it yourself, or it can just be the final blow, like you're talking about. You get to decide when you do this. You're not going to do this in the middle of the game when you're trying to keep your graveyard stocked, right? So,
right.
And finally, Flare of the Hatebound, an essential card in this deck. 5 in red for the 4/2 Devil with Undying, which means when it dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, it returns to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Persist, Undying, similar abilities, obviously. But this is the kind of better version. Whenever Flare of the Hatebound or another creature enters the battlefield from your graveyard, that creature deals damage equal to its power to any target. If you've ever had a graveyard deck that includes red and played Flare of the Hatebound, you probably didn't see it for very long, because A, your opponents did everything they could to remove it, or you won. Pretty soon after, and that's just how it works. Flare of the Hatebound is an excellent card for these types of decks.
Yeah, and that's what Chainer's doing, casting cards from the graveyard.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to highlight a couple of bonus neat moves that I just couldn't think to categorize that easily. Any discard/draw effect. So I'm talking rummaging. It has to be rummaging as opposed to looting. I mean, red is not known for looting itself anyway, but I mean like where you discard first, then draw. This also includes those sorceries where in addition you have to discard a card to draw a card. Mm-hmm. And Stinkweed Imp. Stinkweed Imp is 2 and a black. It's a 1/2 flying with pseudo death touch. It's functionally death touch, but it works a little bit differently how it's worded. It actually is a trigger that happens
it's actually only combat damage also.
Only combat damage, and it is like a trigger that happens, so you can like do stuff in response to that trigger. Anyway, but the key is it has Dredge 5. So whenever Stinkweed Imp's in our graveyard, we have the option of milling ourselves an additional 5 and drawing Stinkweed Imp for a draw instead of a normal draw. So whenever a card says discard then draw, we can discard Stinkweed Imp, and then our draw can be a Dredge 5 to get Stinkweed Imp right back. So it's basically any discard draw effect could read, if we wanted to, mill yourself for 5 instead.
Sweet. I think at this point we can call Stinkweed Imp friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show.
he's on it so often. Friend of the show, Stinkweed Imp.
And just a couple of more utility creatures I want to highlight. Grim Haruspex and Midnight Reaper are both creatures that have the effect that whenever another non-token creature we control dies, we take a point of damage and draw a card, or in Grim Haruspex's case, we just draw a card. So this is just ways to keep the deck running. We want to be drawing more cards, getting through more things, churning the deck through.
Great.
Yeah.
Man, I do love a graveyard deck, I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've just been recently thinking, like, because I love them so much, and because, like, very recently I've been beaten by them so hard that I'm like, do I have to put more graveyard hate into my decks? And it's like, the answer is yes. And we all do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the never-ending lament of the commander player is like, I gotta include more graveyard hate.
Yeah,
That
it's true.
I gotta include more ways to destroy artifacts and enchantments.
Yeah,
Both of
and
those things.
I've got to include more. Like more action, more
Yeah,
action.
but this is this is a great deck. Like, this really makes me want to play this deck. Like, I
Cool.
also like that it's a red-black variation. Like, usually these decks include green, they include blue, but I like that we're
Sure.
not even looking at green and blue for this. We're looking at red-black. I love it.
Yeah.
I just love not doing the most optimal thing, but also really optimizing the like sort of version that you might not think of.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Great deck. Any surprises and discoveries?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, how do you define a surprise? I knew of this card at one point in my life, but I forgot it existed. I was looking for creatures that had madness in it, and I came across from a rare from Eldritch Moon, Voldarin Pariah. 3 black. It's a 3/3 flying, but it has madness, black. So I can cast it for just 3 black mana if I end up discarding it. But the key ability here is sacrifice 3 other creatures, transform Voldarin Pariah. She transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines. It's a flying 6/5, which is already pretty good. So before I tell you the key part, if I can discard a card at instant speed, I can discard the Voldarin Pariah, pay black. She lands on the table, and then I get to when she transforms, if I sack 3 creatures, when this creature transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines, target opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. So at instant speed, I got to do some work, but I got a lot of little dorks that I don't mind sacrificing. You know, I'm talking about your like little vampires, your Rick's Mighty Revelers, your little 1/2s that looted. I can sacrifice 3 of those and make you sacrifice 3 creatures at instant speed, quote unquote, if I have enough going on.
Yeah, like you can't cast her at instant speed.
No, but I can madness
But
her
you
at
can
instant
but
speed.
you can madness her at instant speed. Amazing. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say the art for Abolisher of Bloodlines is I don't remember ever seeing it, but it's very good and very creepy. She's an
Oh my
Eldrazi
goodness.
vampire when you flip her.
Isn't she's Emrakul basically? Look at the shape
the
she's
shape
making.
is Emrakul's shape, yeah. And it's like that she's got like a goat head coming out the side of her. Like,
Yeah.
this thing is crazy. I love it.
Cool.
That's creepy as hell.
Yeah.
All right, well, we talked about the surprises and discoveries. It is now time for the budget report. Budget report.
Budget report. Yes, we're going to take all the cards. We're going to madness them into the garbage, but the ones that have madness, we're going to slip them back into our wallet for pennies.
Pennies. What this one is a very affordable deck.
Yeah, I put it through. I put the deck together. You can find our deck list in the show notes. There's a link there to the TCGplayer decks. The market price is $78. Still pretty good. And the low, if you want to buy all these cards at low, it's $36.78.
Yikes, that's very low.
$36. Yeah,
An old beat up version of this deck is less than $40. That's pretty sweet.
I love it. I don't care, man. I'll take
me neither.
I'll take a moderately played card.
I'll take a whole deck that's been run through the washer and dryer. I don't care.
Well, but I mean, on that note, though,
long as you can
whenever I
read it.
order moderately played cards, they're in very good
Oh yeah,
condition.
there's like a bit of white like on the edge where someone tried to
Yeah.
pick it up or something. Yeah.
It's because from a store's perspective, they have to be over quality. Like, because if you order a near mint one, it better be near mint.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's kind of down, people will get you for it. So they're usually works in your favor. Anyway, most expensive card. I think this card's going up because of Pioneer. I think you should buy it soon because this is Hazaret the Fervent, 3 in a red. It's already up to $7, $6 or $7. 3 in a red for a legendary 5/4, indestructible with haste. Can't attack or block unless you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand. 2 in a red, discard a card. That works well for us. Hazaret deals 2 to each opponent. If we discard a creature, Konrad also does 1 to each opponent. That's 3 to each opponent for every time we discard a creature. That's very good for Hazaret, I think. Worth the money, but like, watch it. If Pioneer makes this go back up to its $20 original price, I don't think it's necessary.
Yikes. Next is just a classic, a favorite, Ashnod's Altar.
Yeah,
the 3-mana artifact, sack creature, add 2 colorless to your mana pool. $5? Is this correct?
Yeah, I mean, like the Chronicles one's almost 5. If you get these other ones, it's more than 5. You can find like the silver bordered one for $4 still, but like the Eternal Masters one is up to 9.
Wow. Yeah, man. Talk about reprints. Just this is one of the ones that's like you could just reprint this forever and it still wouldn't be less than $2 or $3. It seems.
Yeah. That's
yep.
that's the kind of card. Yeah, great. Ashnod's Altar always going to be expensive, and Skull Clamp. We're discarding a lot of creatures go to the graveyard in this deck, so Skull Clamp's always great. We're not a token deck per se, but we can still take advantage of it. And Rakdos could use a hand drawn more cards. Again, it's such a commander staple. It's up to about $5 here too. So we're talking staples, right? If you use our staple system or things like that, maybe this new veggies system we talked about earlier, you can get this. Like, these are the kind of cards I just put into decks that want them. If the deck is less competitive, I won't put Skull Clamp in.
Right. Yeah. Just a great way to draw cards. Especially, I mean, black red needs a little card draw help, so I think you're fine to use it here for sure.
I think so.
Great. I mean, you save a lot of money that way just by cutting these 3 cards out. I mean, I probably would keep one of either Ashnod's Altar or Skull Clamp just because they're so good, but at least one. But it's still lots of room there. Favorite cards. I'll tell you which one I'm a massive fan of in decks that we can bring stuff back from the graveyard and keep recasting. And when we need to, it's a creature, it's everything. It's Duplicant. Love a good Duplicant. 6 mana for the 2/4 with imprint. It comes into play. It exiles target non-token creature, and as long as a card exiled with Duplicant is a creature card, which is interesting.
I guess it's there's got to be ways where you can exile something that is currently a non-token creature, but once it is out of the battlefield, whatever's making it a creature doesn't see it, so it's no longer a creature.
It's a weird bit
like if you've animated a land or something.
Yeah. Anyways, Duplicant has the power, toughness, and creature types of the last creature card exiled with it. It's still a shapeshifter. So, usually this will be whatever size it is of the thing that you just exiled, but it's a 6 mana way to exile a creature and keep it exiled permanently while also sometimes getting a boost in power. And then, of course, in a graveyard deck, we can bring this back and do this multiple times. Duplicant is an all-time great commander card, a staple, can play it in any color combination. Used to be very expensive, and because it's being reprinted, it's much cheaper now.
Well, let's see. It was just printed in Eternal Masters and the Commander 2018, but like I think it will keep climbing up.
Oh, it always will. But currently, it is below $2.
If you don't have a Duplicant, get one or two. Put it in your staple.
Get some Duplicants, yeah. And your favorite?
My favorite, Wake the Dead. It's an X spell. X black. It's an instant. You can only cast it during combat on opponent's turns. But so the X says how many creature cards from your graveyard you return to the battlefield, and you have to sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. You do not exile them, which is the key of this card. A lot of these effects make you exile, but you're just going to bring those creatures back. You're going to get all those ETB abilities, kill a few things, duplicate something. Maybe Konrad comes out with them. A bunch of things die because now the combat's going to get ugly for your opponent if they're coming at you. Or if not, you're just going to sacrifice them all at the end, and Konrad's going to see a bunch of action. So a bunch of cards are going to leave your graveyard. I guess Konrad won't see them leave the graveyard if he arrives with the team, but he'll see them all go back to the graveyard. Or if Konrad's already out, this just does double work.
That's where you want to be. You want Konrad to already be out there. And oddly enough, this was also Harry's pick of the day. It was Harry's
pick. Hi, Harry.
Harry also loves Wake the Dead because it's kind of a budget version of Living Death, right? Is that the card I'm thinking of?
The one where you swap. Is it the one where you swap graveyard for library?
Yeah.
No, you swap what's in for what's out.
You sack everything and then you bring back your whole graveyard. But this just brings back a bunch of creatures from your graveyard. So it's kind of like it acts as kind of like a little budget version. Harry, big fan of the budget version of a very strong card. He's wearing his little monster boy thing. He's being a little zombie himself.
Aww.
great. So yeah, Harry, big thumbs up. He loves it. We love it. This deck's awesome. Sean, you did a great work on this one. I'm a big fan.
Thank you. Thanks, and then thanks to everyone in the Discord. Can't thank you enough. If you want to get in on that, right? If you want to join the fun, the best way to do that is through our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. Not only do you get to hang out in Discord and help us put these decks together, throw ideas in our way, helps us get more shows out faster. That's great.
It's true. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Check out the subscription little button below if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, giving us a 5-star review on iTunes if you're an audio listener also very much helps. So thanks very much, guys, this week. We'll see everyone next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCGplayer affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.